I'm incredibly grateful for their service. Now, I will turn it over to City of Portland Commissioner Ann Hardesty.
Thank you, Governor Brown, and thank you very much for answering the call that the City of Portland made. As a city commissioner who was on duty on Friday when the mayor was out of town, I went downtown once I heard the calls for 4 fire engines to go to one site. I knew something big was going on. And when I got downtown, what I realized was that there were 2 types of people that were downtown. There were people that had come downtown to exercise their rights, to be heard by their government. And then there was the other group that had infiltrated the peaceful protester groups and broke off into splinter groups with the sole purpose of destruction of our community. As the person in charge at that time, I felt absolutely not. We have to close this down. Now, anyone who knows me knows I'm normally the one with a bullhorn at a protest, and I am always someone who absolutely respects the public's right to seek redress from their government. But when we allow white nationalists and white supremacists to infiltrate our peaceful protests, and this isn't new, they did the same thing in the 60s, so we know the tactics that are used. When we allow them to infiltrate our legal, rightful protests and then create the kind of chaos and damage in our community, we must make that stop. I was the commissioner on duty that called for the curfew the first night. If I had my way, the curfew would be lifted tonight, but I have fingers and toes crossed, it will be lifted tomorrow, because I am concerned that the public will feel with National Guard and with a curfew that has basically been ignored, that there will be this overpresence of police. I am so grateful to the state police and the superintendent because tonight won't be the first time that they have assisted us when we have had needs in this community. And I have heard from Chief Fresh that the state police have been real good partners in this effort. But as has Clackamas County and Washington County on various occasions when we've asked them to step in and help us. I want to be crystal clear. We are not entering martial law. We are not going to have armed people on every corner in the city of Portland. We will make sure that the space is there for people to exercise their constitutional rights. And I want to make sure that we don't forget why people are on the street in the first place. People didn't take to the streets so that they could break into an Apple store. People took to the street because people have had enough of the inequality that African Americans experience in this country. Every social determinant of health has Native Americans and African Americans at the bottom. So whether you're talking housing, education attainment, across the board. This has been neglected for too long. Elected officials for too long have paid lip service to equity and equality in our community. And I think what brought this to a boiling point is 3 years of number 45 being blatantly racist and sexist and homophobic and anti-immigrant and anti-refugee. I think this is what finally brought this to a head. When the person in the highest level of government is so disrespectful to the diversity and the equity that makes the United States great, it has allowed these white supremacist worms to crawl out of the woodwork and be seen in the public eye and to actually become bolder and bolder the more 45 tweets the nonsense that he tweets. It is our responsibility to make sure that everyone in this community is safe. And I want to also especially point out that we have houseless people living on the street. And so imagine someone came into your house and started busting out windows and started throwing things at individuals and started creating violent confrontations that required law enforcement to intervene. You would not like it any more than the people who are forced to live on our street. And so this message is to the protesters who are really about equality, who are really about fixing our broken systems. I see you. I am with you. And I hope we take advantage of this opportunity now when the world is paying attention to not just pay lip service, but to fundamentally look at all our systems, and if they're broken, fix them. The last thing I will say is I hope when protesters take to the street tonight that they will take to the street with the same vision, with the same purpose that Dr. King brought to the civil rights movement. It is clear to me that when people speak truth to power, we can change things. But when a small group of people just want to be destructive and tear up our community, we will not accept that. But, Governor, I also want to share my fear. After 3 nights of thousands of people side by side protesting, I am very concerned that COVID-19 will be exacerbated in Multnomah County, and it will be exacerbated because we know that Black and brown people suffer 3 times harsher outcomes with COVID-19 than the white population. So while I understand the need to protest, I'm asking people, please be mindful that we are still smack dab in the center of a pandemic. And yes, civil rights are important, racial justice is necessary, but we have to live in order to be able to change the systems that have been oppressing Black people since we got here. So if you can, please stay home tonight, love your family, and let's get to the business of fixing our broken systems. Thank you.